like a better Oreo almost, honestly. Like the cookie, the quality taste of like the cookie itself is pretty fire. Help yourself. Crack them open. Thank you. No problem. You can come back for seconds, help yourselves. You got napkins.
You guys are so pretty.
No problem.
You never bring napkins. Okay. I bring food. Try. Taste food.
You guys want cookies?
Yeah.
It looks good.
Pretty good.
Did you get it from Aldi? Where did you get it?
I ordered it on Amazon.
Oh.
You guys think you like them?
Yeah, I like the inside. Whatever
It's like what kind of
Yeah, it's
nut?
like hazelnut.
Yeah, hazelnut. Hazelnut.
I like the cookie itself too. It's
That's all.
all right.
Yep.
All right, so I picked Sweden. I feel like Sweden's just a really well-run country. That there's like a lot of benefits for being a citizen in Sweden. Like the government really serves its people. Like you know what everything is going to. So like healthcare, Sweden has universal healthcare as well as private healthcare. And meanwhile in the US, a lot of people can't afford healthcare, a lot of people get proper healthcare. They get the healthcare, they go into medical debt. The US has $140 billion in medical debt currently. Education, free education, education is a top priority in Sweden. 1 in 4 Swedish citizens between 16 and 74 either have or are in some form of secondary education of at least 3 years. Currently, more than $1.7 trillion in outstanding student loan debt in the United States, second only mortgage debt. Unlike Sweden, education is not America's top priority. Some people do not get approved for loans. Some take stupid interest rates, start paying it off for like the rest of their lives. Quality of life. The average lifespan among Swedes is now 84.82 years for women and 81.21 years for men. Things such as preschools, daycares covered by the state. And the law gives 41 days off, like they're required to get 41 days off, like from holidays, vacations, sick days and stuff. And also like the ingredients and quality of food. Sweden, as well as a lot of the other European countries, is just like a lot better than it is in the United States. Less like questionable things and additives and whatnot. But yeah, overall, I just think Sweden seems like a nice place to live.
Did you find out the weather?
I know it's a little chillier, yeah. It is chilly, yeah. You gotta like the cold a little bit, but I feel like it's worth it. You get a lot of time off. Spend your time off somewhere warm.
And did you try to look up how do you immigrate?
No, I should do that.
Did you? Do you know how to move to Sweden? How do you apply the citizenship there?
I know you gotta find a job first.
Mhm.
And it's a 5-year, you gotta work 5 years before you get a citizenship.
No, but do you need work visa to work
You
there?
need a work visa. You have to get a job, you have to get a job first,
And then they will give you work visa.
yes.
The US is different. You need to get some permit before you try to get a job. Yeah, if you don't have the permit, you cannot get a job in the US. Any other questions?
We're excited. Yeah.
I think several people want to move to Sweden. Yeah, I actually know a friend. He also mentioned him when he retired, he want to move to Sweden.
They actually have a better, MS, multiple sclerosis, MS disease treatment over in Sweden.
Oh,
It puts the MS disease it puts the MS, it puts the MS disease in remission for 20 years.
mm.
It's not over in the US yet.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Anybody want more cookies?
I will take some later on.
I'll leave some up
Any-
there.
Okay, thank you.
I just emailed it to you.
You
Or
did?
should I just sign in to my own?
If you can, yeah. I mean, I can log in easily too, but
Actually, could I just use your email? Right, I sent it to you this morning.
oh, okay. Let me check that. Thank you. You just want to.
Yeah, this. All right, so I didn't bring food, but when I went to Germany in 2021, this was like an average beer can, and they went very hard with alcohol when I was there. I just brought some little nice stuff from when I was there, but yeah, I went on a family vacation with my girlfriend's family, and I was there for 2 weeks, and it was very interesting. I had never been anywhere past like New Jersey, so doing a 9-hour flight was awful, but it was really fun. We stayed with my girlfriend's sister's, like at her apartment. She's a student. She's from the US, but she went to Germany for schooling, and obviously they have the free schooling. And they were in this town called Heidelberg, and I'm a bit of a history nerd. I like knights and all that, like castles and stuff. And there's this big castle Heidelberg, and it was destroyed in a siege in the 1600s. Oh, but yeah. So this is me
That's
holding
you?
like an average beer. Yeah.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was 19 at the time, and so I was really excited to legally drink, go to bars, and just have fun. That was my first ever liquor bottle I ever bought, so I was all excited. They had crazy food. Like every corner was a restaurant or some type of like, this was like a yogurt parfait thing, but they cut up all the fruit like in their backyard. It was like a person's house, and they made their own ice cream and they sold it out their window, and like that was just everywhere. People were doing things like that, And, you know, there's schnitzel, that's like, you know, popular German, like it's like fried pork. It's really good, but I was a bit of a baby with the food, trying all the food. But so this is the castle. The castle basically like looked over all of Heidelberg, and Heidelberg is basically like just like a preserved historical town. But the castle was partially destroyed in the 1600s during the Palatine War succession, and it was really cool. I was walking around the castle, and it was on one edge of a mountain, and on another edge of a mountain, you could see the clearing where the Spaniards put catapults to siege the castle, and you could see they would send these massive fireballs all across, you know, and like bomb the castle. And this is what it used to look like, and it's all, you know, in disarray now, but it's still being like worked on and rebuilt. And it was pretty cool. The Nazis occupied the castle and used it as like, you know, a base for, you know, I forget exactly what the guy that was walking us around the castle was saying, how it wasn't full-blown spy stuff, but it was spared during the war because the Allies didn't know the Germans were there, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Did you take the, what is it, philosopher's trail, or I don't know how they call it? Like,
Yeah, there's a trail that goes all around,
yeah.
like, and across the Neckar River, and it's really beautiful. It's a long walk. I'm bad with walking, and I was huffing and puffing the whole day, but it was really beautiful. And I just thought it was a good thing for a global presentation, since it's just, you know, castles very much. And Germany was really weird. Every building was beautiful. Every bathroom had adult items. It was really, really a culture shock. Like, everyone was very open about sexuality there. It was very interesting. I would go in, and right next to the bathroom, I took that picture, right next to this sex toy dispenser was a baby changing station. So I thought it was really funny. And this building here is actually Heidelberg's H&M. It's just like their everyday stores. Like, everything was so beautiful, but then there would just, you'd go inside and like, it would just be very weird. And the people of Germany were very interesting as well. It was a big culture shock for me just walking around. Like, when you're walking by someone in the morning and you're just going for a walk, normally you make eye contact and smile at somebody, you say good morning or something. Germans stare at you and walk past you staring at you the entire time, and do not smile and do not say anything to you. And it was just the weirdest thing. The people were rude, but like the sweetest people I had ever met. And anytime they found out that you were a foreigner, they would like be super happy. But like, then you would be walking by and like a homeless person would ask you for money, and you would say like, oh no, no, sorry, I don't have any. And then they'd curse you out. So it was really interesting. But I thought it was just a really good experience, since all I'd ever known was Pennsylvania. And I remember flying home, and we landed in Newark, and I was really depressed because it was Newark. And Germany was so clean and so like well kept. They literally hire people and pay them, I think it was like 25 euro an hour, to sort garbage and make sure people are throwing like their recycling cans and their recycling bins. So they'd go in and they'd sort the trash piles. It was crazy.
Germans are very serious about their recycle.
They're very serious about everything.
Yeah, actually, yes, they are very serious about everything.
Yeah.
We had some German exchange students that actually did a report on the recycling bins on campus. They say, you guys, your recycle bins, you don't really recycle, you don't follow the sign. They actually went to every single recycle bin on campus to see whether or not people follow the instruction. And they said that we don't, and they were very upset. Yeah,
It was really interesting, just the same as the, adult
Yeah.
dispensers stuff. There was also cigarette dispensers, like every block. And I was walking by one on like the first or second morning, and I was walking by and it automatically dispensed a pack of cigarettes and €10. And no one was around. It was like 7:30 in the morning. And I was like, shit, I just took it, But it was really great. I can't recommend Germany and Europe enough. But it will make you look at the US differently because while the US is wonderful, it's definitely not as clean or well kept as a country as small as Germany compared to the US, but it was really awesome.
where did you fly to?
I flew into Frankfurt and we stayed overnight, first night in Frankfurt, and we just, hung out in our hotel, and there was a bar at the hotel. And so we were just hanging out there for the night, and then we drove, I think it was like an hour south of Heidelberg. And then we mainly stayed in like the southwest kind of area, really close to France.
Did you go anywhere else?
Not really. We kind of just toured Heidelberg. We went to, I really wanted to go to Berlin, but Berlin is very far, like really far, like northeast. But yeah, we were in like the more French-esque kind of areas. So there's like wineries everywhere. There's castles on every hill. It actually looked like when you were just driving through, not the actual town, but when you're just driving through the roads, it looked exactly like the back roads of Pennsylvania, like exactly. And so it was pretty interesting to why Germans settled in Pennsylvania, and like it looks exactly like Germany, it really does. But yeah, that's mine.
So one quick question. So when you fly, usually when we fly international, they serve you liquor, right? Do they check your ID?
I tried to get around that. But we were on Lufthansa Airlines, and they were very serious. I fell asleep in the middle of the night, and I put my head down, and I was supposed to be wearing masks just when COVID started, and I was woken up by a flight attendant at like 3 in the morning with my head down, and he was just saying like immediately, and I was just like woke up. I was in like a haze, and I was like, what? And he was just like, this is the last time I'm gonna ask you. If you don't put your mask on, like this is my he was literally just like, this is my third and final warning. I was just like, this is the first time you and I have ever spoken. I think you have the wrong guy. My head was down, I was sleeping. And this guy, like, it was interesting. I was.
So on the way there, they don't give you liquor, but on the way back?
I couldn't get liquor on the way there yet, but on the way back they did give you, because you're going from Germany. You were in European like, air space. So the drinking age was 18 and not 21. But once you went over the Atlantic, it became 21, and they wouldn't give you anymore. It was really weird. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. Anybody else? Oh. Yes, I have to talk to them. I mean, I have to cover chapter 5 anyway. So let's talk about the theories. Yeah. It's interesting. I like to hear you guys, like your experience with different culture, because people have different perception, different experience. So I thought that's interesting to hear, you guys' point of view. So so today we're going to cover chapter 5, and then don't forget next Tuesday, no class. Okay, no class next Tuesday. Do your I think some of you already tried. There's an exam 1 under Top Hat. So go to Top Hat and then do it. It's due on October 6th. on Thursday when we come back next week. And then it's due on 11:59, Thursday, October 6th. So international trade theory. We kind of talk about this exporters and importers. Okay, last time we show you guys, but I can. So the top exporters in the world is first one is China, and then second is United States, and then third is Germany, and then Japan, and then Hong Kong. Okay, so these are the top 10 exporters. And then we have the importer. I think US is the number one. So, come on, show me something. Well, there's I think the number one is US. Okay. Yeah, number one is US. So the international trade, I think, especially nowadays, you know, countries started to try to boycott different countries, you know, products. Especially after Trump became the president, you know, there's a trade war between China and US. So, but it does, from the theoretical point of view, we want to encourage international trade. But sometimes when I see examples like, you know, product importing from China is really cheap, it kind of, you know, hurt the domestic producers. But the product we sell to China, they charge very high tariff. Sometimes I feel it's not fair, you know. So so I'm not sure, but from theory, we will see from academic theory, we know that any kind of government intervention is not good for us consumer, because if we put tariff on whatever importing from other countries, we as a consumer, we have to pay more, because of course, like Walmart, they buy something from other country and they have to pay tariff. They're going to put it on the price, right? They're not going to absorb the tariff on their own. So we will have to pay more. So from that point of view, you know, I personally prefer the free trade, but at the same time, like I mentioned, sometimes we feel it's not fair, you know. So the trade theory timeline. So in the 16th century, 1500 to 1600, that's when we started to have the mercantilism. So that's when a lot of European countries started to colonize all over the world. Okay, like Spain has majority of South America, Portugal has some Brazil, and then they all have some few countries in Africa. France, Germany also have different, you know, they all have their own colonized area. And UK as well. UK definitely has the most colonized country. I think UK had New Zealand, Australia, and some part of Africa. Okay, so United Kingdom and India. So we have. So and then we have absolute advantage and then comparative advantage. So we are going to talk about this later on. And then in 20th century, 19 something, we have factor proportion theory. We also have the product life cycle using it in the international market. Then we have new trade theory, And then we have the national comparative advantage that's from Michael Porter. So the mercantilism basically means that the countries, they will accumulate their wealth by exporting, and they don't want to encourage import, because when we import, that means we're paying for the outsiders' product, right? But this is the oldest theory in trade. So 3 pillars. We want to maintain surplus, means we want to import less than we export. So in theory, when we export more, we sell more, we get more money, right? So that's the old-fashioned way of thinking. And then they would also have a lot of government intervention because they want to kind of block the import, okay? And they want to exploit the colonies. But later on, we learned that this is the trade is not a zero-sum game, okay? It's not like we sell to them and we gain. And if nobody sells to us, we gain. But no, it's not like that, okay? And we actually don't want to constrain the output and consumption, okay? So if we do that, we kind of limit the potential from, all over the world. So later on, we have another theory. It's called absolute advantage. So in absolute advantage theory, we believe that if a country focus on what they are good at and export what they are good at and import what they are not good at, everybody will benefit, okay? So the example here is, I use Taiwan and Japan as an example. So assuming both countries have 200 units of resources, it's just some assumption. And Taiwan it takes Taiwan 10 resources to produce a ton of banana, 20 units of the resources to make a ton of peach, okay? For Japan, it would take them 40 units of their resources to produce a ton of banana, but 10 units of resources to produce 1 ton of peach. So in this case, Japan has absolute advantage in producing peach over Taiwan, and Taiwan has absolute advantage in producing banana, okay? It's actually somewhat true because Taiwan export a lot of banana to Japan. Japanese somehow, I don't know why, they love Taiwanese banana. So, and we love Japanese peach, okay? Because peach needs to be grown in a colder weather, and Taiwan is a tropical island, so we don't have a lot of peach. So in theory, if we put in all our units of resources, Taiwan can produce 20 tons of banana, no peach, or 10 tons of peach, no banana. Okay, so it's like a linear model. Okay, and then so any combination in between this, and then Japan will have 5 tons of banana, no peach, or 20 tons of peach, no banana. So without trade, Taiwan could produce 10 tons of banana, 5 tons of peach. It's in the equation. So 10 times 10 plus 5 times 20 is 200. So we have to use all our 200 resources. And then Japan will produce 10 tons of peach, 2.5 tons of banana. So total production is 12.5 tons of banana, 15 tons of peach. But, so that's without trade. So the advantage, absolute advantage is we should, if we trade, then Taiwan will focus on producing banana. So we produce 20 tons of banana. Then Japan will produce 20 tons of peach. So if we go back, and then we can trade 6 tons of banana to 6 tons of peach, with Japan. So if you go back here, if we don't trade, we can produce only 12.5 tons of banana and 15 tons of peach. But if we trade, we will have totally 20 tons of banana and 20 tons of peach, and then we can trade 6 tons. So in Taiwan, we have 14 tons of banana and 6 tons of peach. Japan will have 6 tons of banana and 14 tons of peach. Okay, so that's the absolute advantage. So everybody benefits. Okay, and then, but what if one country, like let's say US has a lot of advantage. So US probably can produce a lot of stuff, all better than another country. Okay, let's say Russia. The US produce banana or peach or orange, all more efficient than Russia. So what if that's the case? So then we go to the comparative advantage. Okay, so if that's the case, we will still use Taiwan and Japan as example. So now if you can see the efficiency changed. So now Taiwan takes 10 units of resources to produce 1 ton of banana, and instead of 20 tons unit to produce 1 ton of peach, we are now we just need 13.33 units of resources to produce 1 ton of peach. But Japan, they need 40 units of resources to produce 1 ton of banana, or 20 units of resources produce 1 ton of peach. So you will see here, Taiwan actually has absolute advantage in producing both banana and peach. So even if this is the case, we have another theory called comparative advantage. So as long as Taiwan we compare with ourselves, in Taiwan, we are actually producing, we are more efficient producing banana than peach, right? Because peach we need 13.33 units, banana only 10. And in Japan, the comparatively wise, they need 20 units to produce peach, 40 banana. So if we focus on whatever we are better at compared to ourselves, they still, we still be better off compared to we don't have trade. So this example, Taiwan will produce 20 tons of banana, no peach. And then over 15 tons of peach, no banana. Japan, 5 tons of banana, no peach, over 10 tons of peach, no banana. So if that's the case, Taiwan will produce banana. So we'll have 20 tons of banana, and then we'll have 10 tons of peach from Japan. So we still be better off compared to if we don't trade. Okay, so that's the comparative advantage theory. So with trade, we still have extra compared to without trade. Okay, so based on that, we know that it's actually better to trade than no trade. But as you can see, these are all theory. We have a lot of assumptions, like we assume every country has 200 units of resources. But in reality, different countries have different resources, different capacity of resources. And sometimes we can trade same amount of banana with same amount of peach. So it depends, and sometimes things are not easy to trade. So that's the reality. But from the theory, still we know it's better to trade the product. So so that's the gain from the trade. So we see that actually it's a positive sum gain. It's not zero sum gain. Okay, so we could reach to a win-win situation if we could trade whatever we don't have or we're not good at making with something we are good at making. So So that's why we have the WTO, World Trade Organization. They try to promote free trade. Okay. So as I mentioned, there are some assumptions and limitations. So we only, try to maximize production and consumption, but we only have 2 countries produce and trade stuff, 2 products. We didn't calculate the transportation cost, which could be very high these days. And we didn't really, we only use one kind of resources. In this case, it implied the labor, but that's not usually the case. And we didn't think about any other conditions, okay? For example, weather. Okay, sometimes maybe a typhoon or hurricane hit some countries, the price of certain product will be higher. So, so those are the things that we didn't consider. And then we have the factor proportion theory. So so usually in theory, we will produce export stuff that require whatever the factors we have the most, okay? And we will import whatever resources that we don't have a lot of resources in. So the simple example will be US, we don't have a lot of population. So we usually import products that's labor intensive. That requires a lot of labor, okay? Because how many population? 300 something million people we have, okay? Compared to India, China, how many billion they have? They have much more population than us, and the labor cost is much cheaper. But on the other hand, US have very like I think I told you, we have a lot of energy. We have cheaper energy, and we have enough oil that we need. So we can export the energy intensive product, and we will import the labor intensive product. So that's their theory. HO, I forgot. Two professors, H something and O something. Okay. But this guy, Leotiv, he said that, well, yes, we even though we like US, we are abundant in capital money. Okay, so we should export the capital intensive goods and we should import the labor intensive goods. But we actually export less capital intensive than import. Okay, we actually import a lot of capital intensive. So that's that's something found out. There's some exceptions, but everything has some kind of exception. So we also have different trade partners. Sometimes it depends on the treaty between different trade partners. So you also affect certain trade patterns. It might not be consistent with the HO model. Okay. So, yeah. And then the next theory is the product life cycle. So in theory, the company, they might export a product, and then maybe when the product life cycle started to decline in the domestic market, they are going to start to export. Okay, so they are going to start a new product life cycle in overseas market. Okay, but this was the older theory. Maybe 5 years ago, we would see that sometimes when Apple, when they start selling new models of their iPhone, they usually only start selling the new model in the developed country. And in developing country will be a few months later, they will sell iPhone. But now it's all pretty much all the same. Pretty much, sometimes maybe a few days difference. But pretty much they sell everything on the same day. But I don't know if you guys, maybe 10 years ago, I remember I think I told you guys, iPhone 5 or 6. I don't know if you guys saw that on news. Like they were long lines in front of Apple store. Okay, and you see a lot of Chinese lining up to buy Apple iPhone. And then they have restriction, like one person can only get 2 or 3 phones. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they were like some Chinese, they were hired by other Chinese to buy the phone. And then these Chinese, they hire those people to buy phones. They mail the phone back to China to sell because China didn't start selling iPhone at the time. They are like maybe 2 months late. So some people want to show that they have money or something, like it shows different, it shows like different social status if you can have new iPhone right away. So they were able to sell it at double the price. That's how much we pay. I remember at that time, iPhone was like $200. Do you guys remember those days when iPhone were $200? Yeah, so they were able to, like, they would pay the person to buy iPhone $100, and then they would just sell the phone for like $500 in China. So that's, this is like, this would, I think this would be, you can apply when the product is not that popular there. So one example is, something I can think of is like the pet insurance, okay? So pets here in US are very expensive, especially when you take them to vet. It's usually very expensive. So a lot of time people buy insurance, and insurance pretty much cover a lot of stuff. Like I remember a friend of mine, her dog didn't have insurance, and one time the dog was chewing some toys and then just swallow it, and then it got stuck in the intestine. So she has to take the dog for surgery. Guess how much the vet charge?
$3,000.
$7,000 for everything, for everything. It's I mean, it's very expensive, right? So, and then another person, she also has another dog, also similar situation, but she had insurance. So I think she paid like 150 or something for the whole thing. Okay, so I was thinking, in Taiwan, we don't, like, not many people have the pet insurance. Like people still pay out of pocket, and before, sometimes when this happened, people would just give out their pets because, you know, the pets were not precious like here, like people treated pets like their family. But in Taiwan at that time, it wasn't like that. But now more and more people treat their pets like family, you know, maybe better than their family. Like when I met with my dog park moms, we were all complaining about our kids. And then like we were talking about, like, we had argument with kids, and then one mom said, yeah, I asked my son to do me a favor. He said no. So when I went to grocery store, he asked me to get him yogurt. And she said, I walked past by the yogurt section 3 times. She said, guess what I did? I didn't buy him yogurt. And she's like, but you see that a mother still struggle, like she actually passed the yogurt section 3 times, still struggle whether or not to get her son yogurt. But eventually she's like, no, I'm not getting him yogurt. And she said, instead, I get my dog some toys. So we were like, yeah, and I did the same thing like one time. I was mad at my daughter, so I bought my dog some toy. Yeah. So we're like, yeah, they don't talk back. You know, your kids talk back. The pets don't talk back, and they're always loyal. So I was thinking, oh, maybe we can try to sell the pet insurance, you know, in Taiwan or some other developing countries, because people change, right? And I'm sure you guys heard of it. Like in Chinese culture, people eat dogs. I don't know if you guys heard of it. So it was maybe 30, 40 years ago. You know, when I was a kid, my dog got hit on the road by a car. And when I heard of it, I went to find him. His body was already taken. Because my dog is big, and then people think he tastes like he's black dog, and people think black dog tastes better. So somebody took him to eat. Yeah, it was when I was Okay, but now nobody will do that. No, now you don't see, and now it's even illegal to kill dogs or to eat dogs. Yeah, so so that's the difference. Okay, I remember, I don't know, have you guys met one professor, Professor Sanyong? No. So he was a finance professor. He left a few years ago. So one time we were talking about pets, and I said, and people, and Korea also is known for eating dogs. So I said, do you guys still eat dogs? And he's like, now it's illegal, but he said he remember he had a dog, he had a pet, and he suspect his parents ate the dog. So yeah, he said one day his pet disappeared. He said, I've been suspecting my parents actually killed my dog and ate it. So yeah, so that's the but it's different now. Like we don't do it anymore. I mean, at least from what I know, people don't do that anymore. So the product life cycle is also something we can use to take advantage of that. And then we have new trade theory where so we have new trade theory where we think that we need to utilize the economies of scale. Like if we increase our capacity to a certain level, and then our production cost, unit production, average production cost will be low. And then we will have to sell it to international market because maybe domestic market is not big enough for us to reach the economy of scale. So in that case, we should try to sell as much as possible to as many places as possible. And then when we go to a new country, usually that's the case because usually we have the entry barrier, the barriers to entry in a new country. So usually when we enter a country, somehow we become the first mover and we get to set the standard in that particular country. And then we'll have first mover advantage. It might not be the case in US, okay? Like in the domestic market, somehow it might not be the case. Sometimes it depends on your strategy, depends on your marketing. Like, have you guys heard of a company called 3D Doodler? 3D Doodler? Like it's like a 3D pen, and you can use the pen to make something, to draw something that's in 3D dimension. So in the domestic market, sometimes if you are the first one, you have to carry the R&D costs, and if you are not doing well in marketing, maybe the second mover will take advantage of that. Okay. But usually in international market, whoever goes to certain country first, they will usually be dominant. So one good example would be Coke and Pepsi. Okay, so in Japan, I forgot which one. Like in Japan or India, one company went there first. Let's say Pepsi went to Japan first. So Pepsi is very dominant in Japan. But in India, Coke went to India first. So Pepsi couldn't even, go to India like here. Like here they compete quite fiercely, but in the international market, it's another story. So we have the first mover advantage under that. And then Michael Porter, the latest one, that he believed that the countries, they have their competitiveness depending on different factors, okay, 4 factors. So they have the factor condition, meaning the resources. Okay, like some countries are strong in, they have a lot of labor, so they have strong labor. Some countries like US, energy or capital, okay, and some countries have a lot of not only labor but population, consumers, okay, and then we have demand condition. So some bigger countries they will have bigger demand, and then whether or not they have related supporting industry in that country near the industry. Okay. Another thing is the firm strategy, structure, and rivalry in that particular country. So these four categories, they kind of impact the country's competitiveness. Okay, but of course, if there is theory, there is a pitfall of the theory. So his theory holds for the bigger country. Okay, so for example, like because like demand and factors usually it happens in the bigger countries. So it actually holds in the BRICS country, BRICS. Yeah. So it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So those 5 countries are called BRICS countries, and they are relatively bigger than most of the country. And so they are strong in all these 4 factors, so they have a strong competitive advantage. Okay, but there are some smaller countries actually, even though they don't have all this, but they are still successful. So like Singapore is very, very small, very tiny. And you guys watch what is that? Crazy Rich Asian or Rich Crazy Asian? You guys watch that? The movie, Crazy Rich Asian, right? So it's in Singapore. So Singapore somehow, it's very tiny. Singapore, like it takes you only 1 hour to go around Singapore. Yeah. So they don't have any, literally no resources. Okay, but they are still very successful in terms of business. Why the country is very competitive? Because they know they are small, so they actually promote transparency in business and no corruption. Okay, so in Singapore, everything is very clear, and then if you want to start a business, it's very smooth. There's no bureaucracy or and no red tape. Yeah. So there are some conflict with the theory because basically the theory only applies to big countries. Some small countries like Singapore, Taiwan is very small, but hey, we become very popular, like we become well known after there's a chip shortage, and then we realize 90% of chips are made in Taiwan. So that's something that it happens during the pandemic, during the supply chain issue last year. So that's why the Porter's theory doesn't really hold to the whole world, but at least it apply to the bigger country. So this one, Nokia, where's Nokia from? In Finland. Right. So Nokia, how many people heard of Nokia? Nokia used to be my favorite phone. Like whenever I go to the how do you call it, the cell phone company store, AT&T or T-Mobile, I always pick Nokia's phone until iPhone 4. After iPhone 4, I never had any other phone, and Nokia just that's kind of sad, but Nokia was very successful at the time, and unfortunately, they couldn't catch up. It's just how should I put it? Like one strategic mistake, then that's it. Yeah, because the IT industry actually grew really fast, and yeah, so it just changed rapidly. I remember Microsoft was like the #1 company for so many years, and at that time I thought it would never change, but suddenly they are not #1 anymore. They are not. Are they even #5? I don't even know, but suddenly, the Microsoft is not a #1 company anymore. And even today, Apple is like the top company, but I heard news today, the analysts, downgrade Apple's, status. So we will see what will happen. So let me take attendance really quick. Okay. So who was supposed to be, who else supposed to be there today? Adrian, wait. Is this correct?
Yeah, but you have it first name alphabetical instead of last.
So we need to do last name. Jaleel,
I'm right here.
Alexa,
Here.
Patricia, Rachel, Mark, Jaden,
Here.
Carlos, Jermaine, Ken. Feel free to go if you want. Is Ken here? Scott? So no class on Tuesday, okay? Jeremiah,
Here.
Vincenzo,
Yeah, here online.
okay. Modesty. Keisha,
Here.
Sammy. I think Sammy is supposed to be there today. Timothy? No, Sam. Okay. Timothy. No. Nathan?
Yeah.
Adrian?
I'm here.
Nicole? Logan?
Here.
Marcus? Zach?
Here.
Risha?
Here.
Julia? Anthony? Obi? Next time we will do the other way. Okay. Tony? And Michael?
Here.
Chelsea? Tristan? March? Tyler?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Devontae? Patrick?
Here. Devontae here.
Okay. Nathan? Emmanuel? Carly? Yes, Jason? Okay, next time, remind me to go from the
First name?
last name, the other way.
Excuse me, Professor.
Julia,
This is
okay.
Julia.
Where's Julia?
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, see you guys.